Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer on the absolutely incredible cardiovascular system. I want you to take just a second and imagine the sheer mind-boggling logistics of delivering oxygen and nutrients to every single cell in your body, and doing that every second of every single day. It's kind of like managing the most complex city transportation network on Earth, right? But the crazy thing is, the whole shebang is happening completely silently, right inside of you. Okay, let's dive into this because the numbers here are just staggering. 100,000. That's the approximate number of times your heart beats every single day. Just think about that work ethic for a second. Literally, from before you're even born until the very end of your life, it works continuously. No breaks, no vacations, no hitting the snooze button. And with all of those beats, we're talking about pumping an estimated 7,500 liters of blood daily. It reliably falls right into that 7 to 8,000 liter range. When you really conceptualize that massive volume of fluid being pushed through your body every 24 hours, well, it's pretty much impossible not to feel a sense of immediate awe and respect for your cardiovascular system. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to start with a look at the body's transport system, then we'll peek inside the heart's anatomy. From there, we'll check out its 4 chambers and valves, follow the journey of your blood, and finally, look at how we're actually powering the heart itself. All right, part 1, the body's transport system, delivering life to every cell. Let's think of your body as a bustling, complex city. In this analogy, your heart is the central, super high-powered pumping station. Your blood vessels, those are the interconnected highways, and your blood acts as a massive fleet of delivery trucks, constantly moving precious cargo across the city limits of your body. So what exactly are those trucks carrying? Well, they transport oxygen from your lungs, and they deliver digested nutrients, like glucose, directly to your tissues. But it's not just about drop-offs. Just as crucially, they're the cleanup crew, removing toxic waste products like carbon dioxide. On top of that, they move vital hormones around, they support your immune system by deploying white blood cells, and they even help regulate your body temperature. Without this whole system simultaneously clearing waste and delivering fuel, honestly, life simply wouldn't be possible. Moving on to part 2, inside the heart's anatomy, the central pumping station. So, nestled right there, centrally in your chest, inside a highly protected compartment called the mediastinum, which is right behind your breastbone, sits the physical hardware making all of this happen. And it's shockingly compact for the monumental work it does. I mean, it's roughly the size of your clenched fist and weighs a mere 250 to 350 grams. But that brings up a really great question. Where is the heart actually located? Now, we've all seen those movies where a character dramatically clutches the far left side of their chest, right? Well, it turns out it's a massive, surprisingly common misconception that your heart sits entirely on the left side of your body. And this brilliantly illustrates the reality of our anatomy. Sure, around 2/3, or roughly 66% of the heart, does lie to the left of your body's midline. But get this, a full 1/3 actually sits to the right. This incredibly vital central organ is tucked right between your lungs, just above the diaphragm, and it's enclosed in a protective, fluid-filled sac called the pericardium. Now, that little bit of fluid inside the sac, it is absolutely critical. Why? Because it dramatically reduces friction every single time the heart contracts and relaxes, which, as we established, is happening nonstop over a lifetime. Now, if we were to sort of peel back the actual wall of the heart step by step, we'd see exactly how it's engineered for that lifetime of continuous pumping. It's built in 3 distinct layers. First up, you have the epicardium on the outside, which provides a nice, strong, protective outer layer. Then, going deeper, you hit the myocardium in the middle. This is the thick, heavy, muscular layer that's doing the actual heavy lifting, the contracting and the pumping. And finally, the endocardium forms the innermost smooth lining. That smoothness is key, guaranteeing that the blood flows seamlessly through the chambers without catching or clotting. Okay, part 3. 4 chambers, 4 valves, directing the flow. So think of the heart as a house divided into 4 rooms. You've got 2 receiving atria up at the top and 2 powerful pumping ventricles down at the bottom. Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer physical difference between those 2 bottom pumping chambers. See, the right ventricle only has to gently pump oxygen-poor blood right next door, directly into the lungs. Not too hard, right? But the left ventricle, oh man, it has to pump oxygen-rich blood all the way to the tips of your toes and the very top of your head, often against gravity. As a direct physical result of the extreme pressure needed to reach the whole body like that, the muscular wall of the left ventricle is about 3 times thicker than the right one. Now, of course, to keep blood from flowing backward during all of this super forceful pumping, we have 4 one-way valves. And there is a highly memorable mnemonic trick to remember their exact order of flow. Ready? It's the phrase, try pulling my aorta. Yep, that stands for tricuspid, pulmonary, mitral, and aortic. These valves are essentially like these incredibly sturdy doors that snap shut to ensure strict one-way traffic. And you know what happens when they slam shut? That exact mechanical action is what creates that famous lub-dub heartbeat sound a doctor hears through stethoscope. Pretty cool, right?
Let's move on to part 4, the journey of blood, a red blood cell's commute.
I want you to imagine just for a moment that you are a single red blood cell. You've just dropped off your vital oxygen payload to, say, a working muscle down in your leg. You are completely oxygen depleted, and frankly, you're exhausted from a long trip around the body. So let's trace your commute back home. First, you're going to ride the venous highways all the way back up to the chest, entering the heart through the large superior or inferior vena cava, and you dump directly into the receiving right atrium. From there, you drop down through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. Suddenly, the ventricle squeezes and boom, you are pushed forcefully through the pulmonary valve and out into the pulmonary artery. Now, quick side note, here's a highly unique physiological fact to remember. This is one of the rare arteries in the entire body that actually carries oxygen-poor blood. Anyway, it takes you directly into the lungs, where you finally drop off your carbon dioxide waste into these tiny air sacs called alveoli, and you eagerly pick up a fresh, rich supply of oxygen.
Let's move to and see how this builds your journey back out to the rest of the body. You are now a bright red, fully loaded, oxygen-rich blood cell. You travel back toward the heart via the pulmonary veins, which is again super unique because veins usually carry oxygen-poor blood. You confidently enter the left atrium, fall through the mitral valve, and drop right into that massive, thickly muscled powerhouse we talked about earlier, the left ventricle. When it powerfully contracts, you are literally blasted out through the aortic valve into the aorta, which is the absolute largest artery in your body, officially starting your journey all over again out to the body's distant capillaries.
Finally, part 5, powering the heart itself, the coronary supply. Think about it. An engine working this relentlessly hard definitely requires its very own dedicated fuel line. It can't just casually absorb oxygen from the blood rushing so quickly through its internal chambers. Instead, it gets its own direct, oxygen-rich supply delivered right to the outer muscle through the right and left coronary arteries. So the crucial point is understanding the absolute high stakes of this anatomy. The left coronary artery actually branches into 2 major pathways, the left anterior descending and the circumflex arteries. If one of these critical fuel lines ever becomes blocked, which is usually caused by a gradual buildup of fatty deposits over time, the hard-working heart muscle itself is suddenly starved of oxygen. And guys, this is the stark mechanical reality of a myocardial infarction, what we commonly know as a heart attack. Basically, if the fuel line is blocked, the central pump stops working entirely. Just take a second and think about that incredible, non-stop commute we outlined today. From the thick myocardium generating that intense pressure, to the one-way valves perfectly timing the internal flow, all the way to those unique vessels swapping gases deep down in your lungs. It's just a true masterpiece of biological engineering. Now, in part 2 of this explainer series, we're going to dive into the electrical impulses that keep this mechanical pump on a perfect rhythm, and we'll even look at how to read those waves on an ECG. But for now, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to ponder. If your heart never takes a single break from before you are born until the very end of your life, how well are you protecting its fuel supply? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep learning.